Haggis has won a derby, but if you won a St Leger for the King and Queen, I think that would be the highlight. I'm afraid that's it, William. That would be the highlight of your career.
Probably.
I mean, it's a special day. Do you feel with Desert Hero, really, there's not much more you can do? Everything is right for the day?
Well, we've done what we can do. We're very happy with his condition. So, yeah, look, it's exciting, isn't it? It's great to be here.
I suppose as far as the horse is concerned, he's got to prove his class, and he's got to prove his ability to stay on tacky ground.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, that's in the lap of the gods, really, isn't it? We're very happy with him. And, you know, just hope he runs fast enough.
William, I mean, you've been around long enough now. You know these kind of questions. I mean, you know a good horse. You often tell us, yes, we thought he was a good one from a 2-year-old, etc. Your gut feeling is obviously that Desert Hero is up to this.
Oh, I think he's up to it, yeah. He's an improving horse, pretty lightly raced this year, and he's getting better and better, and physically he's doing really well. So whether he stays, I don't know. Whether he likes the ground, whether the race sets up well for him, I don't know. It'll be what it'll be.
Do you have a few butterflies?
Not really, no. I only get butterflies when I'm not happy with the horse and think I shouldn't be running him or her. But on this occasion, I'm pleased to be here.
Fingers crossed. Good luck.
Thanks, Matt.
Yes, the scene is set. The key players are ready. The King and Queen are here, meeting Yorkshire's finest. Next comes the season's final classic.
Doncaster provides a really searching test of a thoroughbred's ability.
The final classic is St Leger.
So, the best racing of the day in prospect.
The race has such a rich history.
And this great horse striding home the Shinsky. Hurricane Lane is a class act.
Oh, so sharp wins the Leger.
Come on now. Logician in command remains unbeaten.
And Veteran Wood wins the Leger.
Isn't that nice?
It's beautiful.
Doncaster St Leger winning jockeys.
It's Silver Patriot, Pat Henry coming home on his 4,000th winner.
Eldar Hilderoff has won the St Leger.
Conduit wins the final classic of the season.
User friendly is striding 4 clear.
Kew Gardens won the Leger for Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien.
Could this be another Royal Classic? John Conlon is going to win it.
Remember these iconic images at Royal Ascot. John Warren involved again. Might it happen again? As Bruff Scott said, how the late Queen would have just loved today. In a race full of stories, though, Matt.
Can the fairy tale happen? No, not for the King and Queen, for Frankie Dettori, your final British Classic, Frankie. If you could pick between Gregory and Arrest today, would you still pick Arrest?
50-50. I picked Arrest because he's guaranteed to go on the ground. With Gregory, we don't know. So I went for the safe option.
Did you think the form at Newbury was worth all that much?
Listen, it was his comeback race, so we were happy with him. You know, all his win has been some sort of soft restriction. And like I said, I was in two minds. I wasn't sure till the last minute. The only thing persuaded me, the still current is soft, and that's why I went for that.
It's some atmosphere, isn't it? With you having your final classic ride, the King and Queen here, it's going to be some race.
Yeah, great. I mean, it's small field, but selective, you know, so a few with a chance. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens, and it's very exciting for everyone, you know, King and Coolmore, John Gosden and Crisford, so it's full on.
Good luck.
Thank you.
A race Frankie's won 6 times. The first came in 1995. That man has won it 5 times. Aidan O has 6. The clash of the powerhouses. People watching, I'm sure, around the country in huge numbers. Let's get the details of the St Leger then with Richard.
So this is the field for the 2023 Betfred St Leger, the oldest classic and final one in the calendar. They're headed by number 1, Alexandropoulos, for Sean Levy. 2 is Arrest, the choice of Frankie Dettori. for John and Thady Gosden. 3 is Chess Piece in the Godolphin Blue, trained by Simon and Ed Crisford. James Doyle rides. 4 is Continuous, the best fancied of the Aidan O'Brien quartet. Ryan Moore takes the mount. One of the outsiders from their quartet is Denmark, number 5, the mount of Danny Tudhope. Number 6 is the Royal Runner, Desert Hero, Tom Marquand, riding for William Haggis. And 7 is Gregory, now the mount of Kieran Schumacher. Second of 3, John and Thady Gosden runners, because Middle Earth was added to the field, supplemented at the 5-day stage. Oisin Murphy looking for a double. And number 9, Tower of London, a full brother to a previous winner in Capri. There's Jim Crowley's mount for Aidan O'Brien. 9 runners for the Betfred St Ledger.
You can hear the cheers around the paddock. Shortly, Lizzie Jones will sing the national anthem as the King and Queen come into the paddock to see Desert Hero ahead of the Betfred St Ledger, the race that dates back to 1776. And arguably one of the most famous of all, of course, 1977, 46 years ago, when Dunfermline won in the Royal Silks. Lady Halifax on the left there in conversation with the King. Adele, that sums up rather nicely what it means to South Yorkshire to have the King and Queen at their big event.
Honestly, I've actually got a tear in my eye. It sent shivers down your spine, didn't it? It's lovely. What a reception they've been given.
I think crackling's the word you use, isn't it, Jason, when a racecourse is like this?
Absolutely. Could it be racing royalty in the winner's enclosure with a Frankie Dettori, or the real racing royalty? Who knows?
Well, real royalty. We've got it all, haven't we, for this year's St Ledger? Not only a really good field of horses assembled, plenty of chances throughout the card, only 4 stables represented, but top quality horses. Difficult to select the winner. I know Adele likes the King and Queen's horse here, Desert Hero. Jason fancies Continuous. They're not long until the horses come into the parade ring for us to have a look at them.
Lord Halifax, you can see in the middle, who arrived with the King and Queen today. And in the lilac suit you saw a few moments ago, that was Rachel Harwood, who I referred to earlier, who's the executive director here at Doncaster. And they've worked pretty quickly with the rumours circulating during the week and getting that royal box ready for today. And they have been rewarded. And you can see the interest this has got. You could tell from the newspapers this morning, really. And the photographers and the writers are here. And the place in the sunshine now, the sun's come out, is looking pretty spectacular. And Adele, you think it could happen? You think Desert Hero's got a massive chance here, don't you?
I do, because it's a race where I've just sat on the fence most of the season, really, the last couple of months, trying to decide which horse I kind of really wanted to choose. And I think it's just his bravery that we've seen so far this season coming into this race. That's what I really like about him. In a race like this, Ed, where you don't really know how the race is going to work out, you're going to have to ask your horse plenty of questions, and you need a horse that's going to really come through for you, and he's a real warrior.
He ran in Ed's favourite race, didn't he? The London Gold Cup earlier in the season. And he finished only 8th that day, which didn't give you a huge amount of confidence going into Ascot. But William Haggis has said all along these a horse that took a while to come to hand this season, and just gradually he came to himself, started looking better in his coat, and then At Ascot, it was that really fast run handicap, wasn't it? Lots of horses went off too quickly, and he was able to really pick up the pieces but show great grit coming through the field, which again he displayed at Goodwood next time.
And Marcus Armitage has written a piece in the Telegraph today explaining the story of it, how the London Gold Cup was so disappointing. And the Queen had said on her visit to the Haggises, we want to have lots of runners at the Royal meeting. And 2 weeks before Ascot, William Haggis got the right signs, and he rang John Warren clearly and said, we're in business. And the rest is history, provided them with that historic first Royal Ascot win, which they both so enjoyed. The King in particular, and since then I think he's taken real enjoyment out of wins around the country and other runners, and here comes the hero himself. And this horse has done the sport, we mustn't forget about him. What a service this horse has done for the sport. First at Royal Ascot and then at Goodwood in the Gordon Stakes, and now the King is interacting with the locals. That's so good.
It's not very often you see someone lean over to fist bump.
You're not allowed over this one.
The King, is it?
Unusual.
Unusual.
I think the question I can hear them asking is, are you going to win? Nice touch, that. But as Desert Hero comes into the ring, they will move over to see their horse. There are dangers in the race everywhere. Jason, who do you think will win the Legend?
Well, I think that Continuous is an obvious starting point. We are in a bit of unknown territory regarding the distance for him, but he won incredibly well off a really quick pace at York, and just feel that Aidan will have him streamlined for this afternoon.
John Joe O'Neill there, having a word with the King, who has met a number of trainers today. Nice to see him talking National Hunt, I'm sure, what he's got lined up for the winter. We know how keen the Queen is on the jumping. Horses with Jamie Snowden, of course. And Zara Tyndall, who's on the board at Cheltenham, mad keen on the jumping. And they've met Julie Camacho, Jack Berry you saw earlier. Julie, I'm sure, had a real thrill, and on the left there, Caroline, Martin Cruddas' wife. Martin, who's orchestrated all of this with his team. Who do you like, Francesca, in the Ledger?
A few of them, actually.
Hard, isn't it? It's wide open.
Hard. It is hard, and I don't know how Frankie made his decision between the two Gosden horses, because Arrest, yes, he is more proven on the ground, yet he's got a bit to find on the form book. Gregory is a Queen's Vase winner, and he did too much, really, in the Great Voltager last time out. The race that Continuous was able to win. Continuous sat off the back of a hot pace and was able to really pick up the pieces. I would have a question mark about him over the trip, but Tower of London, he's a bit of a dark horse too.
Let's hear from his trainer, Matt.
Well, yes, we have the King and Queen, but there's no doubt we have the King of Ballydor here today, Aidan O'Brien, just speaking to Grand National hero Marcus Armitage and, of course, the one and only Bruv. Do you remember Bruv broadcasting? Weren't you? What absolute legend, wasn't he?
Yeah, we learned a lot from Bruv, yeah.
Did you?
Absolutely.
What did you learn?
About pace and about horses and about pedigrees, about everything, really.
Yeah. Well, he will have learned much from you, Aidan. It's kind of apt, isn't it, when the King and Queen have a runner, that you have one called Tower of London, which is exactly, of course, where you'll be heading if you win.
Yeah, so no, absolutely, Matt. Yeah, he's a lovely horse. He had a lovely run in Newmarket the last day. Ryan always loved him, so hopefully he'll run well.
But of course, Continuous looks like you're number one. How surprised were you with his dominance in the Great Voltager?
He had a very good run in Dante. We were very happy with that, and obviously had was a bit of a blip in France when he went for the French Derby, 1.25 miles. Maybe it was a little bit tight for him. So when we stepped him back up to 1.5 miles, again he ran a very good race in a slowly run King Edward at Ascot. And then obviously he had a break, and he was just ready to go to York, and that was probably the first strongly run 1.5 miles that he ran in. So he's fast on the dam side. Obviously there's stamina on the stallion side, but he got the 1.5 miles very strong that day, and looking at him you couldn't say that he wouldn't get this trip. So that's why he's here. He's a horse with plenty of class, but look, could get the trip.
Well, we'll let you speak to your team, Aim. We got the King, we got the Queen, we got the rock star of racing.
Yeah, he's got 4 in the race, of course. Alexandropoulos, Continuous, their main hope, the Great Voltager winner. Magician did that double in 2019, and they're all in the Derek Smith colours. Denmark will have the blue cap. You can see on the right there, Danny Tudhope riding for Aiden. The white cap is Jim Crowley, and Tower of London on the left. Let's get up close with the horses ahead of the Classic. Adele.
And we're going to start by looking at Tower of London. It's going to be the first one, and I think he's been slightly overlooked, this horse. We haven't seen him all that much in the UK, and he's lovely. He's got a really nice, elegant walk about him. He's not overly tall, around about 15-1, I'd say, so he's not the biggest in the field, but he hasn't turned a hair at all. We're going to pick up number 4. This is Continuous. I know Jason really likes Continuous, and he's a horse I've never really kind of know what to make of him, but he looks great in his coat. He's starting to really fit into himself, this lad. He looks really well. Lovely, nice walk, a very simple bridle on, just no noseband and a loose ring snaffle, so it's obviously quite a nice, straightforward ride. 5 Denmark, his stablemate is just behind him, a completely different build to his other stablemates. Can you see he's got that really kind of tall arched neck, a little bit more top line, I would say, than the rest of them, a bit more athletic as well. 1 is also behind Alexandropoulos, and he's another one who's not overly big, and he's still very much unexposed, this horse. They'd have to really step up, I think, to win this today.
Jason, I want to ask you about Middle-earth, who we saw winning the Melrose at York. Only made his debut in June. They decided to supplement. What do you make of his chance?
Well, that's the key, Ed. You know, we've got a couple of horses in here, himself, Middle-earth, and also Gregory, that started their career very late. And they've come on a huge amount of ground and improvement in a short space of time. So, you know, he's gone back-to-back. He beat Nakib. Nakib came out and won at Haydock when we were there in really good fashion, so the form is good. And look at the way, under quicker conditions, the way he puts the race to bed. And he quite clearly is a good way in front of Denmark, who wasn't as good afterwards.
And that's the question, though, because we've heard from John Gosden this week about the chances of this horse, and he's said, oh, I have a bit of a concern about the ground, because I think he's better on the slightly firmer conditions. He's like his dad. He's got quite a low action, and he was supplemented, which is a good boost for them, but he needs to keep improving.
Tom Marquand getting his instructions. He won the race, you remember, 3 years ago, came in late for the ride on Galileo Chrome. And that's some honour, isn't it, to wear those colours? We saw you that day at Epsom with all you jockeys in the royal colours. Some buzz.
Yeah, super. From a sportsman's perspective, when you go into the weighing room, if you're lucky enough to have those silks up on your peg, it'll give you certainly an extra pep in your step, and to wander out and be here, great honour for Tom.
Another royal train on the left, Rafe Beckett speaking to the Queen. Richard.
Aidan O'Brien and John Gosden were represented in this final Classic, and it's 3-1 each of 2, Arrest and Continuous, 1 from each camp, sharing favouritism at present. Desert Hero 6-1, Gregory as big as 6-1 now, 8-1 Tower of London, 17-2 Middle-earth, 16's Chess Piece, 3-1 the field, 1 from John and Thady Gosden, 1 from Aidan O'Brien for the final Classic, the Betfred St Ledger.
We're going to have a quick look at Gregory, and I know I wasn't overly taken with him at York. I thought like he'd kind of gone maybe a little bit weak looking, like he's having a bit of a growth spurt. He actually looks a lot better today. He'd actually got himself quite warm as well in the prelims, and he's handled himself really well. I know he's got the 2 handlers, and the sun's just starting to come out, so he's got every excuse to get a little bit warm, but he hasn't. But he's still a little bit gangly to me. I would like to see him kind of fill out a little bit more.
Gregory, who won the Queen's Vase just as Eldar Eldarov did, and then came on and won the Ledger. Judd Montehier, Douglas Erskine-Crumb on the left, Rachel Hood on the far side of Frankie there, who has got his game face on ahead of his final ride in the Classic. Back to you, Adele.
Oh, I've got Middle-earth walking up sides me. I know I picked him out in the Melrose. He's a really nice looking son of Roaring Lion, and do you know, he's handling the big occasion really well. He must have a really nice attitude, because you can see how relaxed he is by the way his ears are kind of just lobbed to one side, one to the other. That's a clear sign of he's not really taking that much interest, and he's really nice and relaxed. So yeah, even though I know the form maybe isn't all that strong, he's just starting to get a little bit sweaty on his neck, but I think he's handling the prelims really well.
I think I'm right in saying the Melrose, the race he won at York, hasn't supplied the winner of the Leger, as Maureen Haggis, such a huge part of the Haggis team in Newmarket, takes Tom Marquand to mount on Desert Hero. And Aidan O'Brien and John Gosden, Jason, have had such a stranglehold on the St Leger in recent years. They've dominated it. The Haggises have a chance here. What about the Crisford's chance with chess piece?
Well, he actually has a great way of going. He's pretty enthusiastic. He can be straightforward and ridden up on the front end, which could possibly be the way they ride him here.
They need to make the most of his stamina, because he's a lengthener, he's not a quickener.
We've got a rest now. I'm just going to drop back a little bit because I don't want him to kick me, because he's actually a really big lad once you get upsides him. The mount of Frankie Dettori, I do think he's actually picked the right one. He'll handle today's kind of dead going, and he's got a nice athletic walk. He's looking at the crowd there, isn't he? Taking everything in. Got no negatives about Arrest at all. 3 is next. This is Chess Piece. And he's not as big as what I thought it would be, to be honest with you, Chess Piece. I expected him to be a lot bigger, and he's quite kind of short coupled nearly, you would say, from his kind of the saddle to the end of his quarters. Completely kind of different to what I was expecting, to be honest with you. 6 is next, Desert Hero. I mean, he has got quite warm. You can see that on his neck and under his belly, which, you know, isn't a good sign at all, but he's not doing anything with it. He's obviously, it's just got out, the sun's just come out now for the big race, and it is quite warm, and it's making a few of them get a little bit sweaty. He's having a little look at the crowd. He's also having a big look at another look at this big screen up there on the left-hand side. We'll just watch Tom get on board, just see how he's handling himself. He's just showing a little bit of inexperience and having a little look round, which is a little bit of a concern for me.
He's enjoying it. And I thought Desert Hero would be a long odds-on shot today to win best turned out. He hasn't. Continuous has won it, so well done to Ranju, who led up Continuous along with Pat Keating ahead of the Leger. Now the horses will make their way out onto the track. Look how close the racegoers can get up to these horses. Zafrul Alam leading up Desert Hero as we go to a rest. Tony Proctor and Hosey led him up in the paddock here. Frankie said 50-50. Did you believe him?
I think it was a difficult decision. I think there was a piece of work that might have influenced the decision, and of course the ground conditions. I think he might have wanted a bit more rain throughout the week, but Arrest definitely the pick of the paddock for me.
Okay, Arrest the pick for you. Here's the parade with Chess Piece, who is second in the Gordon Stakes. For Godolphin, James Doyle looking for a third classic win for the Crisfords, father and son, with their first runner in the Leger.
Here is Desert Hero. He was sweaty when he won at Goodwood last time out. He's showing those signs again. However, look under the bonnet, there's a lot of heart there.
Next in line, the white cap. For Derek Smith is Tower of London, who was unlucky in the Bahrain Trophy. Brother to Capri that won a Leger. Jim Crowley riding for Aidan O'Brien.
Coming next in the parade is the favourite, Continuous. He's the selection of Ryan Moore. He was the winner of the Great Voltager last time out. 14 times that race has provided the winner of the Sledger.
Good luck to Richard Hoyles with these caps. The blue one is Denmark, led up by Yassir. Big opportunity for Danny Tudhope, getting to ride for Ballydoyle.
Alexandropoulos, we haven't seen a huge amount of. It's only his 4th lifetime star. He was 3rd in the Ballysax in April, then upped dramatically in Trip up to a mile 6. That was a listed race. This is a Group 1. It's a classic.
Then comes the Wathnan Racing colour, becoming all the more familiar. Philippa Cooper spoke so well from the Normandy stud. She will be cheering on this horse that Wathman brought off the Queen's Vase winner, Kieran Schumacher. Jason, huge day for him, given the opportunity. I think we're going to see more of it when Frankie retires. For John Gosden.
Yeah, it was rumoured for a long time, and it looks as if he's steadily securing that spot as the top rider for next season. What a way this would be for him to cement that partnership, and has an obvious opportunity.
Sheen Murphy heads down to post on Middle Earth, supplemented for the St Ledger after the win in the Melrose Stakes, one of 3 in the race, 4 trainers, John and Thady Gosden. He needs to improve, but there's nothing to say that he won't.
Desert Hero's got a little warm, making his way to post. The King and Queen have made their way up to the royal box, and now we'll watch nervously. William Haggis has done some job with this horse that we were talking about. What do you make of him going to post, Adele?
I mean, he's on the bridle, isn't he, going down to the start. I am slightly nervous, though, about how sweaty he's got in the prelims, and I kind of had a bit of a feeling like when you watched him walk around, like the occasion was maybe slightly getting to him. There's a lot of big screens around the parade ring here, and he was having a good look at them, looking at the other side of the track as well, all the people round, and you can see his ears just kind of always fixated on something, like he's just not quite fully concentrating.
Tom Markman obviously knows him well. Is there anything he can do at this stage to kind of help settle the horse?
He can kind of just reassure him, like he's doing now, giving him a little rub on his neck, giving him a little pat, and that's all really he can do, Francesco, is just try and keep him calm and relaxed. He just seems to be constantly looking at something. Like, I just feel like he's not got his mind on the job today. I'm a little bit concerned.
Still not sure who's going to go off favourites. Very, very tight on the exchanges. 3-1, each of 2. Just check the bottom of your screen to see how things stand. 2 people in with a chance of winning £50,000. Arrest 11-4 favourite, Continuous now 3-1. 2 people in with a chance of winning £50,000. 1 ticket's on Arrest, 1 ticket on Gregory, going for 50 grand just to add to the mix.
How do we think this is going to play out tactically? Aidan's obviously got 4 in there, yet Continuous is a little bit of a suspect stayer at the mile 6 for the first time. Do we think Frankie's going to take the bull by the horns and lead on Arrest?
I think Chess Piece will go forward, because he always does, so we kind of know that he will. Frankie has got the options. If he thinks that they're not going quick enough, I suppose he can go on and take him on. I have to say, himself and Continuous were actually the 2 pigs in the paddock.
Put your mind at rest a little bit, Adele, and others who have backed Desert Hero. Matt had a quick word with William Haggis. He says, don't worry about the sweating 1 iota. He does that every single day at home. Frankie down at the start on Arrest. His final classic ride. Have you had a chance to speak to him, Jason? How he'd love to finish with a classic win.
Well, when you talk about how he's going to attack the race, to get yourself in the zone again, if he can keep him under wraps in the early stages and not use that natural pace, will he have more final kick in the St Ledger? That's the key.
How are they looking down there, Luke?
Do you know what, he's getting a little bit on his toes at Rest. It's an atmosphere that I haven't experienced. I've been to a lot of St Ledgers with the national anthem and everyone seemingly really getting excited, and it's just ever so slightly getting to Arrest. He was just being a bit nappy. Look at him, you can just see he's just getting a bit uneasy, but these horses, they're not used to the atmosphere like that. His noseband looks as though he was just need a bit of adjustment. But there's the Royal Runner over there. I heard Adele saying that she didn't think he was particularly concentrating. He has got a little bit warm, but the news here is that he's just taken, you see Tom just taking the horse's earplugs out, and him just shaking his head. He's not buzzing over. I know people don't like to see horses sweating, but he's not getting revved in.
Of the others at bigger prices, Tower of London, is he the forgotten horse? I mean, he's a brother to a Ledger winner in Capri. He was second in the Bahrain Trophy when it turned into a bit of a sit and sprint. I feel like there's more to come from this horse.
Yeah, I mean, he's been progressing really nicely, and we haven't obviously seen him that much in the UK, but when he did come over to Newmarket, I know there was thought a lot of him, and they always have done, and the race didn't plan out for him. I know Ryan ended up dropping his Pro Cush probably at a crucial stage, whether or not if he'd held on to it, he'd have won or not. Castaway ended up winning the race, and I think it's still good enough form to come into this. To be honest with Francesco, we still probably don't know whether I suppose he really stays the trip. That's another little question mark for him.
Alexandropoulos, a 40-to-1 shot. He's got a bit to prove, but with Aidan, you never know.
Yeah, he looked an absolute picture in the prelims, and yeah, I don't think there's any getting away from the fact that, you know, Tower of London should have been coming in here looking for the 4-timer. But Continuous, Aidan said he thinks it was a pretty straightforward pick for Ryan this time round. Look, I think that, you know, quality and class is not an act, it's a habit, and we have royalty here today to see the speed and stamina that's required for the St. Leger.
Here we go then. Frankie's last classic ride. Are we about to see history and a Royal Classic winner enjoy the Betfred St. Leger with our big race caller, Richard Hoyles?
So last two to go forward will be Middle Earth, the aid of the blanket, and Arrest, who was last into the paddock, was first out onto the racecourse, and will be last into the stalls. Frankie Dettori, on his final domestic classic ride, heads in for the Betfred St. Leger. 1 mile, 6.5 furlongs, one complete circuit, and they leave the stalls to the cheer of the crowd. And early on, Chess Piece is one of the first to show, and also moving forward, Denmark, and Gregory taking a handy position as well. So it's Denmark who leads early on for Danny Tudhope. Gregory in second place in the gold sleeve jacket. Chess Piece is wide out early on in the blue. Fourth place belongs to Arrest, who is just ahead of racing in fifth place, Alexandropoulos. They're being followed by Continuous, who's quite keen. The Royal Runner is Desert Hero. There's a couple from the back with Tower of London, and last of all is Middle Earth. So out in front, Denmark at just an even pace. Gregory continuing just to hold that gap open on the running rail, is half a length away as they make their progress towards the climb, short one at Rose Hill. In third is Chess Piece. Arrest is quite keen in fourth place in the white sleeves, pink and white with the green jacket, racing on the outside at this stage of Alexandropoulos. Continuous with the white stripe on the face on the outside of Desert Hero, and Middle Earth continues to be held up at the back of the field in company with Tower of London, who is last of all. So it's Denmark who'll lead this steady turn. From in second place, Gregory, and third is Chess Piece in these early exchanges. Alexandropoulos racing in fourth with Arrest on that one's outside in fifth. Then the scarlet sleeves of the Royal Runner, Desert Hero. Continuous is next, then Middle Earth, as they make their steady progress down the side of the racecourse and heading on towards halfway in the Betfred St. Leger. Denmark has the lead. Gregory still just on the running rail, half a length away. Chess Piece in third, and then in fourth place, Alexandropoulos. Arrest on the outside of Desert Hero, who's racing in sixth place. So Frankie Dettori alongside Tom Marquand on the Royal Runner. Continuous under Ryan Moore in seventh place, then Middle Earth, and last of all is Tower of London. It's been an evenly run race. Denmark still leads by a neck. Gregory in second place, Chess Piece racing in third. In fourth place, Alexandropoulos with Desert Hero and Arrest. Then Continuous as they continue their steady progress that'll bring them back towards the home straight. So they have 5 furlongs to travel in the Leger. Gregory looks like being the first to commit as he strides alongside Denmark. Chess Piece in the blue, Alexandropoulos. Arrest is now asked for the effort. Desert Hero trying to work into the race as well. First signs of anxiety from Continuous, moving towards the inside as Gregory is the one who tries to up the ante with Denmark. These two from Chess Piece. Arrest down the outside, Alexandropoulos and Continuous. Still trying to stay on from the back is Tower of London. Gregory leads, but they're queuing up in behind. Arrest and Continuous, who's threaded his way through the pack, and Tower of London down the outside, and then the Royal Runner Desert Hero. Continuous takes the lead from Arrest in second place. Tower of London down the outside, then Desert Hero and Gregory trying to stay on, but it's Continuous who surged to the front in the Leger, has the advantage from Arrest in second place. Tower of London, and then in the inside Desert Hero, but Continuous is keeping up the gallop. Arrest in second, Desert Hero staying on into third, but Continuous for Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien wins the Leger. Continuous beat Arrest, the Royal Runner Desert Hero in third, Tower of London and Gregory, they were clear of Chess Piece. Middle Earth never showed, Denmark dropped out. Likewise Alexandropoulos. Continuous threaded through the field and was pretty dominant in the end, went 3 lengths clear and held that advantage to the line. Arrest in second place, Desert Hero ran well in third, Tower of London fourth. Gregory every chance, just couldn't get away from the pack, who was snapping at his heels and ran him down in 5th place. Continuous, a Son of Heart's Cry, a big European success for that stallion. Wins for Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien. Win number 7 in this classic for Aidan. And Continuous just kept on rolling.
Oh, it's 7th heaven for Ballydoyle. Their success is continuous. They've won another St Leger. He is unstoppable right now, Aidan O'Brien. He continues to break records. It wasn't to be for Frankie in 2nd. It wasn't to be for the King and Queen in 3rd. Horse number 4, Jason, won it well, didn't he?
Well, despite him being very keen in the early stages, so the good angle in is that he's going to be fully effective when he drops back in trip on whatever they decide to do with him.
He's done it again, Matt.
Well, Aidan O'Brien, he's just making his 2nd phone call, a 7th St Leger, Aidan. You were right, that great voltage of form was superb.
Yeah, we were surprised how well he stayed, and like we knew at Ascot over 1.5 miles it was very slow, so we weren't sure that he would stay, Matt. So, but they went a very strong gallop in York, and he did get the trip very well. Ryan gave him a beautiful ride, very patient on him. Rachel rides him in all his work. Aoife rides him out all the time. Andrew is in charge of him with Ed. So listen, it's very special. Ranju led him up. A lot of people, Rory, a lot of people do a lot of work with this horse day in, day out, and like really appreciate everyone. So delighted for all the lads, Michael and Dorian, John and Sue, Derek and Gay, incredible really, and George and Emily, so delighted for everybody.
Just very quick question before you speak to Ryan. Any chance this horse could go for the Arc, Aidan, or is that too soon?
It's definitely a possibility. The lads will decide those things like they always do, but they'll speak to Ryan. But he's a lot of class, this horse, and he does stay, and he does handle soft ground. So I'd say there's every chance he could, Matt. He's a hardy horse. He's had a strong, hard programme early, so he might back up in 2 weeks. But listen, the lads will decide that. But I'd say there's definitely a chance.
Well, you are unstoppable, Ballydoyle Maestro. Well done.
No, thanks very much, man.
Well done.
Thank you, man.
Well, just down with Ryan Moore, and Ryan, that was just such an impressive performance. He went clear and he just seemed to keep going further and further clear. Were you expecting him to pull that out like that?
He's a real smart horse. We've counted round, to be honest with you, and I thought, go back to the inside. The run came and I had to go. He's a very genuine horse. I mean, he won a group race as a 2-year-old in awful ground, and he's been coming back, improving every run. He's by Heart's Cry, who's was a top stallion in Japan. I think he was the only horse to beat Deep Impact in Japan. So he's very rare. He's getting better. He's great will to win. He travels. He's got a turn of foot, and he's a lot of guts.
He does have a lot of guts, and this is only a 3rd St Leger win for you. You haven't ridden in the race since 2018 with Kew Gardens, obviously because of the clash with Irish Champions Weekend. But it's a special race to win, and in front of a crowd like this today with the King and Queen here.
Yeah, great crowd, and it's a shame the way the scheduling has been. It'd be great if they could keep them apart in future. You know, unfortunately, I haven't been here on this day as often as I'd like. You know, but it's a classic and last one of the year, and it's great to get it in.
Well, you may have spoiled the Frankie party, and you may have spoiled the Royal party. We're still delighted. Well done, Ryan. A great success.
Thanks very much, Diane. Thank you.
They truly are a remarkable combination. 3-1, Continuous went off at and won the Leger. Arrest was 2nd at 11-4. Desert Hero in 3rd. The winner convincing though, and Aidan O'Brien, who reached that 4,000 landmark last weekend at Irish Champions Weekend, now has 43 British Classics. The remarkable thing about that total is more than 10% of Group 1s, 418 Group 1s. You run out of superlatives for him as a trainer. He has won the Betfred St Leger for a 7th time. Continuous, the winner this time. He's the 15th horse to do the Great Voltager Leger double. Right, Jason, we pick it up here, and Ryan zips down the inside.
Yeah, he went there, and I thought momentarily as the runners started to rush towards the outside, was he going to get caught in a pocket? But that goes to show that he's still got so much pony underneath him, if you like, that he's able to manoeuvre him through the gap. And he committed a long way down. It wasn't like he was waiting and thinking about stamina. He's gone and committed.
That was a brilliant shot there, wasn't it? Because you really did see him slicing through the field there and putting his speed to the fore. I feel like the early sectionals weren't that quick. It was not a particularly strong tempo set by Denmark. There were a few horses in behind that were pulling. Even Continuous looked a touch keen, Arrest as well. So I think it helped Continuous's chances that they hadn't got a super strong tempo for the duration of the mile 6. He was able to really show his turn of foot late.
It's a familiar scene, isn't it? Everyone's saying well done to Aidan. What did the Royal Box make of it? It wasn't to be. Third in the St. Leger. I'm sure they enjoyed it. The debrief will now happen. No excuses for the second and third, really, Adele. They were well beaten.
Yeah, I was a little bit nervous with Desert Hero when I seen him in the prelims. I just didn't think his mind was fully on the job today, and you can't really make any excuses for him in the finish at all. There was a couple of them that were slightly keen, I suppose. They didn't go overly quick. I thought they'd go a bit quicker than what they did, but it was a nice even gallop in the end, so you can't really make too many excuses for those that have been finished in behind. Gregory, I just think, has gone really weak, Francesca. He only made his debut this year, and I just feel like he's having a little bit of a growth spurt. Yeah,
the kind of front half of him is all there. The back half, maybe not quite, and give him a winter on his back, and he's a big frame of a horse, so hopefully next year we'll see a bit more from him.
And when Aidan goes to the Great Voltigeur, they're not ready, are they? They're just not ready, and they come on an absolute bundle and come here. Kew Gardens a great example of it, third that day. What this horse did that day, he's gone and improved again, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, he was obviously, you know, you're prepping, you're using it as a stepping stone. We've just had Arc Trials weekend, you know, a week ago, and literally they are preps for the big day, and Aidan is a master at that. When you think about the crowd behind us here, Ed, the roar, 2.5 down when they all got into contention, and then it quietened down. It was nearly like it was over from a furlong and a half down, as if he'd gone. Yeah, he'd gone beyond recall and he wasn't stopping.
Yeah, the royal winner wasn't going to get there, was he? But it's funny to think back in the season, because it feels like yesterday we were there at the Dante when this horse was finishing dead heat third with Passenger in the Dante. They elected not to go for the Derby. They went for the French Derby, probably thinking that that trip would be more suited to him. And then here they are, winning a St. Leger at mile 6.
We see him here again. He's been a slow burner, hasn't he, with what he did in the summer? At Royal Ascot, the French Derby. You're thinking, oh, I've got you, Jason, I can tell.
I definitely am thinking, because if he can be so keen early on and still finish off, I know 1 or 2 were a little bit, you know, reefing and pulling. He's pretty fluent, isn't he? He's got quite a rounded action. He's certainly not going to mind if there's any dig in the ground over there, and 1.5 miles is absolutely ideal.
This is a nice touch. Frankie Dettori's come into the paddock to say well done in his final ride in a classic. And I think he'll be having a word with the King and Queen in just a moment. Second on his final Leger ride on Arrest. There we go.
I was just in front of you. Just don't fall.
And earlier, Matt spoke to Frankie amongst the losing jockeys.
Well, we think Frankie Dettori has just ridden in his last British Classic, but we don't know Frankie for sure. Have we just seen you in your last British Classic?
Yes, I wanted to curse her, Ryan, but he's such a good mate of mine, I couldn't. I congratulated him. He was the best horse on the day. I had a super run. I got excited a touch, but then when I saw Ryan going better than me, I knew if I can get second, it'll be good. And look, it's been a good journey. Wasn't to be, but I came close and I loved it.
Yeah. And Frankie, just with the rest today, did he didn't settle that well early, did he?
It was a bit gassy, but nevertheless, that's the way he is. And he's getting better. He'll be a force to be reckoned with next year over 1.5 miles, but that will not be my problem.
And final question, Frankie, just because you've mentioned it, if a big money offer did come in, could it change? It's
got to be big.
Very big.
Big.
Very big. Well, we've seen a tremendous reception for the King and Queen. Tom, it wasn't quite to be, but you must be pretty pleased with that.
Yeah, he's run huge. Look, the whole way round, it was always going to be the worry of the trip. Like we said before, he stayed well over a mile and a half, but they just never quite got him into his comfort zone. They were always just sort of coming half a stride slower than I needed them to be. So, look, he's run great. He toughed it out well to the line, but it does leave in question whether the trip's for him or not, just in the fact that he finds much better cruising speed at the mile and a half, but super. And obviously, yeah, it was fabulous to have both the King and the Queen here today to enjoy it with us.
On that basis, was the message about the Melbourne Cup probably an unlikely one?
Look, I'll leave that for everyone else to decide. It's a very different kind of race and very different ground normally and things like that. So it's not just as straightforward as distance, but look, I think you can really credit him for his attitude today, and it was obviously a good spin round. Would love to have won, obviously, but.
To be part of the whole occasion, though, with the royal family, the cheers from the crowd, the King meeting the general public, etc. It's been a special day, whatever.
Yeah, it's been enormous, and I think once again it's fantastic for racing, and general public obviously have enjoyed it as well. So look, amazing days racing, and look, unfortunately we didn't win, but he's run super and lost nothing in defeat.
Well done.
Thank you. Cheers.
And this is a nice touch. As Doncaster says goodbye to Frankie, Fred Doan can't give him the winning cap, but Frankie has a different cap instead. Well done, Fred, and the sponsors. So pleased we're able to squeeze in the Ledger on ITV1, World Cup Rugby and Wales playing after this. You'll be glued to that. We'll probably miss the presentation. And now with things taking their time with Frankie saying goodbye. How would you sum up Ledger Day, Jason?
It's spectacular because of Aidan's dominance, and his ability is just not in question. The tune and the feel that he has for the thoroughbred is quite remarkable. Yet, I will say there is a little bit of a flat spot amongst the crowd, not for Dettori leaving, but for us not having a royal winner. I think that everybody was momentarily thinking that was going to happen.
And Ryan will get the cap back in a few moments' time as he's won the Ledger once again. What about you, Adele?
How would I sum up today? Well, I suppose we started off with a couple of little bubbles burst, didn't we? Iberian obviously was one of the ones that burst. Brazilian, how many times? I don't know how many different names.
I think we called it everything, to be honest.
Yeah. So he started off the day with kind of, I suppose, bursting a little bubble, but I suppose he's kind of one to look forward to for the Guineas for next year. And no, we didn't get a royal winner, but I think everyone's still quite pleased to see Aidan here, and you know, he's the best trainer in the world, and no one can ever begrudge him ever having a winner at the top level, can they?
I feel like the Ledger sometimes gets a little bit lost amongst the 5 classics in the year. It's the last one, it's over a mile 6, it's towards the end of the season, but I feel like today it's had a little bit more added to it, obviously with having the royal presence, with having the royal runner, with having Frankie on his final ride in the classic. It's felt like a really special occasion. And then, yeah, we didn't get the script that we wanted potentially, but still with Aidan winning, it's racing, and we're quite used to that narrative, aren't we?
Well done, Yorkshire, well done, Doncaster, and I really hope you've enjoyed it at home over the last 3 days. Likewise with Wales in World Cup action after